Women continue to battle for an equal footing, and much progress has been made right here at home. Michelle Place and Maggie Brown with the Tulsa Historical Society are here. They're going to talk about some local achievers. Also, the prairie is alive with the sound of music. And Randy Thompson with OK Mozart is going to be here to fill us all in. This and more when we come back. Hello, I'm Sam Jones, and this is my perspective. You know, I think I figured out why politicians can't seem to accomplish much these days. They're way too busy playing bulldog politics, attacking each other. Now, some of you might be surprised to learn there was a time when wit, humor, and yes, intelligence played a big role in government. I call them the big three. But you can't have humor or wit without intelligence, which seems to be in short supply lately. Now, let me give you a few examples. First, over across the pond, told by a fellow Londoner in his late 70s that had been arrested in Hyde Park for making improper advances toward a young lady in the dead of winter, Winston Churchill quipped, "Over 75 and below zero makes you proud to be an Englishman." Back here at home, Ronald Reagan once said, "I've learned that one of the most important rules in politics is poise, which means looking like an owl after you've behaved like a jackass." And this is one of my favorite. Saying grace before a White House dinner in 1965, Press Secretary Bill Moyers spoke very softly. "Speak up, Bill," President Johnson bellowed. "Speak up. I can't hear you." Moyers replied quietly, "I wasn't talking to you, Mr. President." Well, timing is also important. When word came that President Herbert Hoover had a new granddaughter, he said, "Thank God she doesn't have to be confirmed by the Senate." And when our own Will Rogers was taken to the White House to meet President Harding, Rogers said, "Mr. President, I'd like to tell you all the latest political jokes." "You don't have to, Will," the president said. "I appointed them." Well, there are thousands of stories about wit, humor, and intelligence in politics, but interestingly, very few of them are recent. There are, however, funny stories about political failures, or maybe I should say, sad funny stories. For example, during the recent standoff on funding, Homeland Security, the big agency, Republican Kathy Rogers of Washington said, "When I had 4-H animals, I sold them. I saved that money so I could go to school." Don't ask me how that applied to the subject at hand. Oh, and during that same standoff, Republican Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy of California said, "I have 2 small kids that are now one in college and one about to go to college." That's an accurate quote. And reporters looked at one another puzzled about the meaning of what was just said. I can imagine that happening. Somehow, this verbally challenged group of lawmakers managed to avoid a pending shutdown, and they approved funds for the Department of Homeland Security. Our own Senator Jim Inhofe brought a snowball to the Senate floor. He then offered it as proof that global warming is over, which should comfort all the Oklahoma residents currently living in an officially declared drought area. So you've got wit and humor and intelligence. In Oklahoma City, State Representative Mike Christian offered a bill to make breathing 100% nitrogen gas the secondary form of execution in the state. He said, "You know, you can pick up nitrogen just about anywhere. Why, you can even buy it at a welding supply company." And that bill passed. I should mention, too, another Oklahoma City representative, Sally Kern. Now, some of her statements have caused moans and groans and raised eyebrows in the state and laughter, mostly outside the state. For example, Miss Sally said, and this is a direct quote, she actually said this, quote, "Blacks in Oklahoma have a higher than usual incarceration rate because they don't want to study as hard in school," end quote. And that's not all. Then she gave us Women Don't Work as Hard as Men. And several times she's explained that homosexuality is a bigger threat to America than terrorism. Well, on that issue, it's no surprise that she's behind House Bill 1598, which ensures therapy to convert someone from gay to straight. So wit and humor and intelligence. Now, before we start throwing verbal stones at Miss Sally and the rest of them, perhaps it's best we take a look at how they got their jobs. You see, they were elected. So the fault, it would appear, rests with the folks who bothered to vote, while the majority of the voters stayed home. Perhaps before the next election, voters might want to remember the lyrics from a John Denver song. The song was Poems, Prayers, and Promises. And the lyrics are, "The children and the flowers are my brothers and my sisters. Their laughter and their loveliness would clear a cloudy day. And the song that I am singing is a prayer for non-believers. Come and stand beside me. We can find a better way." I'm Sam Jones, and that's my perspective. You know, many Tulsa women have had distinguished leadership roles. And Michelle Place and Maggie Brown with the Historical Society are here with more on that when we come back.